I'd like to welcome everyone to the Emmaus Borough Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have our personal appeals part 1 right now. If you have a personal appeal, please sign in and state your name and where you're from, and you have 5 minutes for your appeal. Any appeals? Mr. Farmer.
I am Richard T. Farmer. I live at 221 North 3rd Street in Emmaus. I am speaking tonight as a resident of the borough and as president of the Friends of the 1803 House, Inc. We are a member of the Heritage Alliance, along with the Canals Homestead, the Shelter House, the Emmaus Historical Society, Emmaus Moravian Church, the Emmaus Public Library, the Emmaus Remembrance Garden, and the Emmaus Main Street Partners. That pretty much covers the whole town. Like everything else in life, there is a beginning. Later in the meeting tonight, you will hear a proclamation that celebrates the beginning of our community. We want the community to know this proclamation is the result of the beginning thoughts of John Schmoyer in collaboration with Gene Klock. Gene Klock is president of the Canals Homestead, and John Schmoyer is the treasurer. Their thought is Emmaus Founders Day should be established. In 1747, Sebastian Canals and Jacob Ehrenhardt Sr. shared a monumental thought that would benefit all the settlers of their community. Today, in 2018, instead of Sebastian Canals and Jacob Ehrenhardt gathering fellow settlers into a formal congregation, the Canals leadership presented the idea of establishing Emmaus Founders Day to honor the men and women who created our community. Thanks to John and Jean. We look forward to working with the Canals Homestead and the Heritage Alliance to celebrate the founding of our village, Small, Emmaus, Pennsylvania. Thanks, John and Jean. That's my presentation.
Thank you. That was nice. Anyone else with a public appeal? Hearing none. Any community minute to bring brought forward? Roy? Yeah, we always look at you, Roy. Jeff? Nothing. Progress. I like that. It's his report. It's a good report. We have no special presentations tonight. Reading of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the June 18 council meeting minutes? Councilman Barrett, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Any questions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. We also had a public hearing that evening, and we need to approve the meeting minutes. That was June 18th also. Is there a motion to approve? Councilwoman Baumgardner, seconded by Councilman Barrett. Any corrections or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. Decisions on bids. We have the Overlook Reservoir Demolition Project, which is way up above South 2nd Street. And if you look under action, there's a very long explanation that you can only read 3 sentences at a time.
Yeah.
So, essentially, the motion
you want me to take it over?
I mean, I could read this, but it's
Yeah. So-
long,
so-
and you could probably summarize it
Yeah.
faster.
So this is over. It came in over budget. I mean, we know that. You've read that in my review. However, with that said, you know that this is 8 years in the making. We have come a long way with legal issues, engineering issues, legal agreements, digging a well, like you name it. We've gone through the process with this thing.
And many surprises.
And many, many surprises. I remember when I got a tour of the community, our public works director, like that was one of the first places he took me and said, this needs to be done. That was 6.5 years ago. And so here we are now, finally at the point where we can do this. We put it out the bid. The bids range from $79,320 all the way out to $170,000. Our recommendation is that you are going, for you to hire Newber Demolition Environmental Services Incorporated, with the add alternate A1, the Springhouse demolition, for the amount of $79,320. So because this was over budget, we had looked at it at Budget and Finance, thinking, okay, like we run a tight budget in water, so where are we going to pull this money from? And what we're going to end up doing is we are going to take the funds out of 06.448.761. That is water meter replacement. And that will balance that deficit for this project. So essentially, we're going from one line item to the other. It's not going to damage the budget, but it'll get done. It'll get this project done that has literally been being worked on for 8 years. So our recommendation to you would be to do that.
All right, do you want me to read the conditions also?
Yes, please.
All right, so along with that motion, we're going to have these following conditions: the satisfactory review of bid and supporting documents by the borough solicitor and engineer as a formality to cover anything that we might not have picked up on during our quick review. Satisfactory completion and verification of operation of the Engelman replacement water supply system, and also Salisbury Township approval of the site grading plan, which has been submitted to both the township and LCCD, which stands for Lehigh County Community Development. Yes. So that is the full motion with somebody.
Conservation District.
Conservation District, okay. Would somebody like to make that motion? Councilman Anders, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Any questions or discussion?
Just a question on the project itself then. Once approved, how long will it take and will it be done it will still be done this year in the fall?
So I don't have a timeline on the completion. The idea is that it will be done this year. We are running the new water main down Klein's Lane. That project should be starting here in the next week or two. Really it comes down to they have to peel some rubber off of the roof because it's not just concrete. I guess there's a rubber layer. And then we have to, after we do the water main, we have to drain out
I saw that.
what's in there. So some of it really is on us to get our piece of it done. We're going to do some spray irrigation with it. We're going to basically take the water and spray it into the soccer field is what we're going to do. Once we do that, then they can do their demolition piece. It's going to take over 100 triaxles of clean fill. So this company must have a site somewhere close, because we certainly don't have 100 triaxles of
So
clean
there's
fill.
gonna be a lot of trucks going by my house?
Well, and so that's part of the whole,
Yeah.
like,
no,
all these agreements we had to sign was, if there's damage done to the road, it has to be repaired. It's tight quarters up there.
Right.
So running triaxles of clean fill up there is tight quarters. Our solicitors and our engineer had a lot of hurdles to jump through to get to this piece. So there's a lot of work that has to be done there. I can't give you
That's fine,
the idea is gonna be that it's done this year though.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? I had a question. We originally weren't going to do the spring house, but now we are. And I had asked you what happens if we don't do it? And you said nothing, it would just stay there? Why did we decide to spend the extra $5,000 if
yeah.
it could just stay there?
So that's at the recommendation of your engineer, not by me. I don't care if we do it or not, but our engineer is recommending that we do.
And he didn't give a reason, he just said he recommended it?
Yeah.
I went and looked at it, it basically looks like an outhouse.
Yeah, so, and I had asked our guys, can we do that for, you know, what's the difference? $5,000,
It was like
right?
5,000, yeah.
You know, can we do that for less than 5,000? Our public works director thinks we could. The only challenge that we may have, well, again, so we're draining it and cutting all the water off, so it's not like, the only issue that we might have is if there's some kind of underground spring or something that is feeding from that spring house. In which case we could cap it and call it a day. So we could take that 5,000 out and have our public works department do it. That's up to you.
I just brought it up because I remember the conversation, why aren't we doing the spring house? Because we don't need to, and it could just stay there, and I figure, why spend that $5,000 if we don't need to?
I guess the question is does our public works have time in their schedule with paving and other things coming up?
That doesn't have to be done, like, we can do that in a cold. Yeah, you know what I
I'm
mean?
just
Like,
asking.
that's not it has to be July
Right.
to knock out the spring house. I think maybe one of the things that the engineer was looking at is while we have all the right-of-way agreements and all the, you know, and they're already there, it'll be quick and easy for the contractor to do. I would assume that's why he's probably recommending
Okay.
that we take it.
What?
And the property owner there would still have the right to say, you guys were supposed to remove this, or no? Are we going over and above what their request is, and could they come back
So
to
I
us?
don't have that answer. That might be for legal counsel to answer, and I don't think he can probably answer it right now.
Right.
But that's probably something that,
I'd like to think about it.
that he could get us an answer on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my instinct is that if it's a minimal savings, that for a project with these kinds of unknowns, that it would be better to have the contractor take on that responsibility if we're going to do this. And I don't know what our savings would be, but I'm sure it's not drastic. Would you think that it is, Shane?
Well, it wouldn't be the full $5,000. I mean, there would be soft costs. You know, I mean,
Right.
if you factored in soft costs, it'd probably be 2,500 with soft costs, 2,500 to 3,000 probably with soft costs. I don't know because I don't know what's underneath.
Well, that's why I say, I mean, there's an unknown that
It could be nothing.
right, yeah, it could be super simple and done, or it could be, oh, by the way, it's a 300-foot hole that
Yeah,
needs to be filled, and there's an underground sinkhole or something. I mean, who knows what I mean.
I'm pretty sure the 5,000 didn't include a 300-foot hole though.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is this would cover it, but for us, it's an unknown, and if it goes further, I'd rather just, if all of it's being done at once, just have that company do it, even though it might be a small savings, but to cover ourselves for the unknown.
Chris?
And that's what I would say, 6 companies bid on that, and only 2 of them came less than $5,000. So I would agree for the risk of not knowing exactly what it is.
Yeah. And I was mostly interested in what Wes had to say because he's been up there, and I went up there after our last meeting, so I don't know how many other people have seen it.
I
but-
have no idea how these people come up with their prices. I mean, like the company that's bidding $118,000 said it's only going to cost $1,000 to do the spring house.
Right.
So I have no idea how they come up with their pricing.
But you do have 3 bids that are pretty close to
Because
each other.
the one beside them who bid $158,000 said it's going to cost $19,000 or $18,800 to knock it down. So I have no idea how these guys. Besides, maybe they work from the bottom and work their way up. You know, we're going to bid this and figure out from there what.
Yeah.
So when we finalize this project, do we actually sign papers over to the property owner and then that we're done forever?
Yeah, so we have a lot of agreements sitting out there. We have easement agreements, we have a legal agreement on the well. The legal agreement on the well is written very much in our favor. Once it's done, and the water's tested,
They take ownership.
they take ownership. There's no maintenance, everything's released. We did say that if the water tests high in acid, maybe.
Yeah, we put in a filter.
We put in a filtration.
Okay.
But,
Basically, when this is done, we're done. It's
Okay,
gone,
That's,
Okay.
that's what we
except
want.
for the possible filter.
All right. Any other questions? We had a motion, we had a second. It was Councilman Anders, I believe, and Councilwoman McManaman.
I had,
Did I have that wrong?
Councilwoman Baumgartner. as
Oh,
the second.
Councilwoman Baumgartner. Okay.
Actually, no, I'm going to ask it just very quickly. Just I want clarification on, I was planning on abstaining, but maybe I don't need to. My company was involved we were on the seller side of of the piece of land that this sits on. We did not represent the buyer. Should I be abstaining? I always do it as an overabundance of caution.
You technically really have no
I've-
economic interest in it
None.
at this point, so I would say you don't have to. I mean, if you feel more comfortable,
No, this one's different than other things, so I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, we're filling a hole.
I know, but I want,
Who would think filling a hole would be so dang complicated?
Yeah.
everything's been complicated.
Yeah, from the beginning.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Those abstaining, so there are 7 ayes and.
Okay.
All right, moving to communications, we received 2 letters for requesting appointment to the Emmaus Garden Commission, Stephen Bayer and Susan Kowalczyk. We also received a request to hold a cruise-in event at the Emmaus Community Park on August 19th from Kathy Mincer for the Recreation and Entertainment Commission.
I think you guys should probably
Vote on the date,
vote on that one.
vote allow them to have it.
Yeah, because it's August 19th. It's before your next meeting.
Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion to allow the Recreation and Entertainment Commission to hold their cruise-in event August 19th at Community Park? Councilwoman McManaman, seconded by Councilwoman Baumgartner. Questions or discussion? Wes?
they did this in the past, correct?
It's a little bit different. Last year they did it in the parking lot and they had to pay a fee to enter it. This year they just kind of come by, they're taking donations, they're not doing all the big fancy trophies and stuff. It was advised by Mike from Motors Plus that they'll get a better turnout that way. People don't want to drop money for an entry fee because if there's bad weather, then they don't want to come. But there are going to be, if you read over it, there's going to be vendors there, so
Yeah.
they're going to make their money on the vendors mostly.
So they didn't have vendors the last time? Or did they?
I
thought
I
they
think
did.
they had a
This
food
stuff, it was very few,
Yeah,
yeah,
Okay.
hardly any.
yeah.
But I'm sorry. My question is, it says for far upper lot for the vendors. Which upper lot? Because there's 2. Would they be using, any idea?
I don't know.
I'm kind of curious, because like that's down there and you're going to have everything.
Shannon might know, I don't know.
From what I understand, and I could be wrong, but I think they were looking at the area like over by the volleyball, like to the side of the pavilion.
Along the railroad.
For the, yeah, near the railroad for the vendors, from what I understand.
But it says far upper lot, so I would assume far upper lot would be either the old tennis courts or.
That's what I would, yeah, but
Yeah.
that,
You can
I'm just
clarify that.
curious.
but, so,
I do have a question, because I know this came up in their commission meeting, was the concern about parking in terms of whether the field is used that day. So I didn't know if there's any rented, if the field's been rented, or if there's any concern about a
the
conflict.
field meaning
The
the
lead-
soccer field in the back?
Well, I guess
No,
I
the
need
baseball
to-
field.
Or the
So-
baseball field?
So here's part of, we need to try to start coordinating some of this stuff a little better. And that's a conversation I need to have with staff. For example, we're having summer concerts and there's a baseball game going on. Like that is, we need to try to start avoiding that a little bit better. And that's just a matter of trying to coordinate better. If we're having a car cruise in, there better not be an adult baseball game going on.
Right.
Especially when we're talking about cars like that. I mean, not that I want anybody's car to get hit, but something like that is devastating to somebody that spends that kind of money to preserve them.
This is also the day of the large flower heads, which is expected to be bringing in a large crowd. So you have.
Well, that's why they tied it
Well, I
in.
think that's
there.
what the, yeah.
That's why they
So
tied it in,
what I
because they're
will,
gonna
what I
have the
will
vendors
do,
there.
what I will do
But you
is,
don't want
I
traffic
will
from
make sure
baseball.
that, if there is some kind of game that day, it ends by a particular time.
I don't believe I see the ECTB who's been renting the fields on that date, but I don't know about the adult league.
Right.
I'm looking at that date, so,
Adult is what I would assume on a Sunday.
yeah.
And normally they're earlier in the day.
But that's August,
Yeah, it would have
I mean, that's pretty late.
Yeah, I don't know if their
Yeah.
season's still going on or not. So I will find out though.
All right, any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. We also received a letter from Kathy Mincer for the Emmaus Halloween Committee requesting to hold October 20th for the Halloween parade. Is there we don't need a motion for that, do we?
I would make, well,
That's a
no,
past
it's
event.
every year,
Goes
it's
to
the same
staff.
day, yeah.
I'm gonna send that to staff. There's no borough engineers report, solicitors report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a bid meeting, pre-meeting on the waste contract this Wednesday. I believe it's at 11 o'clock. We're trying to make sure that everything goes smooth. As you know, they are contentious contracts.
Well, you've seen the addendums.
Yes, there is an addendum already. On LCA, the O and M and the I&I provisions, the DEP wanted or have been sent. But I am still concerned that there are issues with the city and LCA that technically, I don't understand it, but technically would involve us. If the city was overcharging LCA, then LCA would have been overcharging us. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out. Of course, the city says they weren't overcharging it. And the reservoir property, I talked to, I call it the reservoir property, the property adjacent to the reservoir. The county still hasn't responded, and he asked me to contact the executive, Phil Armstrong, and see if I can move it along. So I'm going to.
Yeah.
That's my report.
So, listen, let's talk about that a little bit. This has been almost 2 years. I would say if that thing's not closed by September 4th, let's put it up for sale. I don't know what else to say at this point.
I mean, I thought we had, in maybe 2 meetings ago,
Yeah.
I actually thought it was done, because I thought that was a
Yeah.
confirmation
Well, and-
in that email that said
And
this
from
is,
a county commissioner, we were basically told it's a done deal. Well,
yeah, I think there
Yeah.
were other staff members on that email too
Right.
that had all said the exact same thing, that
Right.
this was done. I thought it was done because of that email.
I thought it was done, and I had talked to Attorney Somack, county solicitor, and I said, hey, what's going on? And I said, let's keep it simple. He said, we want to change one thing in the agreement, we'll send it over. I said, fine. He told me what it was. I said, send it over, send a check. The deed's been sitting there, we have it done.
Yeah.
I said, we'll send you the deed. There's nothing to it. We don't even have to sit down and have a settlement.
Do we-
It just could be done by mail.
Do we want to give them a cutoff time?
I
Do we have to vote on it?
Why don't you let me at least, well, you may do whatever you wish, obviously, but if you give me an opportunity, I think I can get Mr. Armstrong.
I think we need to deliver a message that it's gonna be on the September 4th council agenda.
Yeah, can you do that?
That I can do. I'll put it diplomatically.
Yeah, it's,
September,
there's no need for it to
August.
take this long.
I
It
would
sounds
do
like
September.
muddy politics. I mean, there's
We
no
want the
need for it to
deal done
take this
before
long.
then.
Yeah. Well,
It's
they
nonsense.
change governments, you know.
I know that, but
But still.
the staff didn't change the electeds did,
Right.
but the staff
Yeah,
didn't
I
change.
know, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So, send that message, please.
I will.
All right, we have no unfinished business part 1. Under new business, under 12A, we have ordinance 1179. It is our first reading, and it's an ordinance of the Borough of Emmaus, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, amending ordinance 1099 and chapter 15, subsection 602.2.a of the Emmaus Borough Code, removing a residential handicap parking sign on a public street located in front of 570 Broad Street, and adding a residential handicap parking sign on public street located in front of 228 Furnace Street within the Borough of Emmaus. This is the first reading. Second reading will be in August, or will have to be in September?
August.
August, okay. Would somebody like to make that motion for 1179? Councilman Barrett, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Any questions on it? It's pretty simple. It's handicap parking. All those, oh, it's going to be a roll call vote. Councilwoman McManaman.
Aye.
Councilman Schubsta.
Aye.
Councilman Anders.
Aye.
Councilwoman Baumgartner, yes.
Aye.
I didn't start off with you today. Councilman Dufresne.
Aye.
Councilman Barrett.
Aye.
Councilman Ladenburg, aye. He's laughing because I usually start with him and I didn't tonight, so. All right, unfinished business part 2, we have nothing, items not on the agenda. Does anybody have anything to bring forward? Hearing none, mayor's report.
Thank you. Proclamation 2018-439, the Mass Pennsylvania Founders Day, July 30th, here and after. Whereas on July 30th, 1747, 44 individuals established a Moravian congregation that evolved into a democratic community, later to be named and known as Emmaus. And whereas the community continued to develop and care for its citizens and encourage its growth, and whereas in 1759, the first home was established in the community, and whereas the Mass Heritage Alliance educates the population and celebrates the history and development of our community and desires that the community be aware of its evolution, now, therefore, I, Leanne Gilbert, Mayor of the Borough of Emmaus, proclaim July 30th of each year henceforth as a special day to show appreciation of the settlers in 1747 who established a Moravian congregation of 44 people that evolved into the village of Emmaus, Pennsylvania, which we enjoy and govern. Let this day of each year hereinafter be a celebration of the legacy of Emmaus. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the Borough of Emmaus, Pennsylvania, to be affixed this 16th day of July, 2018. Mr. Farmer, I'll see that you get a copy of that
Very
as
good.
well.
Very good.
Also, since you have the notice for the Halloween parade this evening, trick or treat will be Friday, October 26th from 6 to 8. I did check with the city of Allentown, and that's when they are having their trick or treat night as well.
Is there a game that night?
Yes, I had been given some
Home or away?
wrong information. Unfortunately, the football game against Parkland is home that evening.
Oh, boy.
Which 2 years ago it wasn't a problem, so keep your
Okay.
fingers crossed. We shouldn't have any issues this year.
Thank you.
It's progress.
Committee reports, Public Works. Chairman Anders.
Yes, nothing for official action this evening. However, as you'll see, we asked Shane to provide us with some timelines and dates for upcoming projects. One thing that I know the public has been asking a lot about is the culvert timeline at 10th Street, excuse me. It is to start the first week of August and hopefully completed by early October. So I know that's one that the public seems to be wanting to know, and of course it is after school started, which originally we did not want, but the other projects there you can read and catch up on, and with that I'll report progress.
Thank you, Chairman Anders. Seems to be the summer of getting things off our agenda that's been on a long time.
Yeah, well, let's just hope that,
We finish? Health, Sanitation, and Codes Committee, Chairman Schubsta.
Yeah, nothing for official action this evening. Our next committee meeting is scheduled for July 25th at 4:30 PM. Report progress.
Thank you, Chairman Schubsta. Parks and Recreation, Chairwoman Baumgartner.
We did not have a July meeting, so report progress. Next meeting is August 7th, 4:30.
Real quick, Mr.
Oh,
Latham.
good.
Just, I did notice here on the thing, Parks and Rec does have movie night, the kids' movie Coco, and that is on the July 27th at 8 PM at Community Park, or as soon as it gets
Coco's
done.
an animation.
Coco is an animation, yeah. It's a pretty neat little kid film, so.
we purchased a new screen for them as well.
Yeah, I forgot
Yes.
to tell her that, I'm sorry.
Well, she has it in email, so, I think I found a 14-foot by 14-foot inflatable screen.
Wow,
It doesn't take 2.5 hours of manpower to put up and doesn't take a whole lot of storage, like, it's in a duffel bag.
Yeah.
So for $100, we felt that it was worth at least an attempt. I mean, it might blow
Don't bring
over
your
or
lawn darts.
blow into
No lawn
No
darts.
lawn
God knows
darts.
where, but,
No lawn darts.
yeah, no, don't throw lawn darts at it. But we've seen a lot of communities using that kind of screen, and we think that that might be more efficient and effective than the thing that we're using now.
Basically, yeah.
And to add to
Alright.
that too, right, we have the summer concert series, the free summer concerts in the park Sundays, so we just had one last Sunday. New band that hasn't performed before for that, and they did really well. Everybody gave good feedback.
It was a swing band,
Swing time.
and I did
Yeah.
find out that the donations were more than what the band cost, and I think that's the first time that ever happened, so
Yeah,
we'd like to hear that.
Yeah,
they were
that's
very
great.
generous. Everybody came up, said positive things, so they were great performance. Luckily, the weather cooperated
Yep.
after a morning of rain.
Oh, it's
so-
nice in the evening.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Thank you, Chairwoman Baumgartner. Public Safety Committee, Chairman Dufresne.
Nothing for official action. You can see the notes from the meeting in the package. One thing to bring up, the Emmaus Police Department is having National Night Out on Tuesday, right, it's Tuesday, August 7th, from 6 to 8. I guess Jubilee Street will be closed here. There'll be hot dogs, a dunking booth, where it says the mayor will be dunked. I didn't confirm that yet. But, and then some DJ that I've never heard of will be there as well.
Yeah, I have to amend the flyer to include, DJ.
The mayor being in the dunk tank is not confirmed yet, but
Repeat that, yeah.
We did find her a hot dog costume.
Yeah, no.
you can ask her if she can.
I'm on the grill, so we got hot dogs.
So nothing else for official action, any questions? Otherwise, the next meeting will be actually August 14th at 1 PM. A large part of that will be an executive session, Shane, or no?
Yeah, actually, several hours of that will be.
So we'll do the public part first, so if anyone comes,
No, the public part actually will go last.
so if the public wanted to attend, what time-ish?
We have to set up so we're interviewing police candidates, so half an hour for each of the three. So there's an hour and a half, and then we're gonna interview sergeant candidates. That's probably half an hour for each of the four. So there's another 2
4.5
hours.
So if the public wanted to attend, 5:30, give or take.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll reduce them down to 20-minute interviews, but I would say sometime between 5 and 5:30 is when it'll open up to discussion and vote on each of them.
Okay.
It's gonna be a long, pack your dinner type of meeting,
Luncheon.
Lunch and dinner.
yeah.
Okay, so with that then, progress.
Thank you, Chairman Dufresne. General Administration Committee is myself. We have the conditional use for the Switchback Pizza Company, and it's just a formalizing what we already voted on. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve the conditional use decision for Switchback Pizza Company? Councilwoman Baumgartner, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. You can look at our committee notes. Our next meeting is this Thursday at 9 o'clock here in council chambers.
Real quick, I did see something that I think deserves to be said here, that our police department has received their accreditation in the notes.
You should have seen
Am I reading the right notes?
Sunday.
In general administration?
It's also under boards and commissions. It's listed.
Oh, is it? Okay. But sorry.
That's okay.
I saw it in there and I just thought that was phenomenal to put it out there.
Yes, and it's how many years now, Mayor, that we're accredited?
Since.
Is it about a decade?
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you know?
2004, 2002.
Somewhere around in there.
So
yeah.
almost
the early
15 years.
2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. We thank them for all their.
We were one of the first in the area, if I remember correctly. Great. Thank you for pointing that out, Roy. I'll report progress. Budget and Finance Committee, Chairman Barrett.
We have 3 items that require official action. The first is the bill list, which is Resolution 2018-26, and I'll place that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne. Any questions on the bill list? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
The next is the town hall server, something that we talked about in the budget season. We did a number of interviews to find the best option, weighed the cost versus service, and decided on Integra One. So Shane, do I need to make this a 2-part?
Yeah, it's under, look under actions.
Yeah, I just want to, yeah,
Yeah.
I have it, just want to be sure. So, the first motion is to contract Integra One to obtain a new town hall server in the amount of $96,138.74 through the CoStarz contract.
There's a motion by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne. Questions or discussion?
Just, do you recall what we had in the budget season for this? Is this right in line?
We have budgeted, we had an original quote of 200,000. We've scaled this thing back.
Awesome, okay.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, as a brief, just the most brief note is, we will move into 2018. We were currently in about 1998, if that helps you, where we've moved as far as, I mean, technology
we have,
in this.
Yeah, we have serious security issues going on.
Right. No,
And-
I
and
don't, I realize that.
One of the, I think one of the jaw-dropping moments was we almost had a complete shutdown this year. So we were down for over a day, and decided, you know what, it's like, there's no more patching it. It's done.
And also, just as an additional note to this, I mean, and we had a very good discussion both at Budget and Finance, Gen Ed. We've talked about it at length during the budget process, and it's just thinking about technology in a different way, in that it's not a one-time and then forget about it. This is just a perpetual cost. That this is the cost of doing business in today's age.
And I might add that we interviewed 2 different companies and maybe about an hour for each one.
Yeah.
So we asked a lot of questions and about efficiency and security and all those types of
And we
things.
paid for an independent audit as well, to have a company look at the entire system, look at the integrity of it, the security of it. I mean, we did a lot of research on what we needed to take care of
Yes.
here.
And the audit was very helpful in the sense that, I mean, there's always a hesitation whenever you buy technology, is that, am I just being sold on something that I don't need? So when it was done independently, where someone did not have a sales interest in it, it concluded a lot of things, and then it forced these companies to kind of fall into that mold, which was helpful.
And so the timeline or lifespan of this system would be, again,
So,
everything changes.
Yeah, so here's the
5 years.
problem is, so we've had ours since 2011. That's our newest one. We're still running off of, one of them was literally from what Mr. Barrett's saying.
You weren't kidding.
He wasn't kidding on that date. The lifespan of a server is really 5 years.
Okay.
So we should be doing I mean, and the sad thing is, we do it for the police department. We rotate this thing out every 5 years like we're supposed to. We're holding the same valuable information at Town Hall, and even more now that we have the ambulance side of things over here. We need to be rotating this thing out every 5 years. So what we're looking at as part 2 of this would be to do it through a equipment lease for 5 years, so that it is a perpetual 5-year rotation. You're set, like, be prepared to spend this much every year from now until the end of time.
So we could
Kind of like
budget.
what we do with
Yeah.
cars.
Yes.
And also, this is really the first go-round in that true approach. So we may find that we need to increase, but we also might find that we need to decrease. I mean, we're definitely moving up substantially in technology here, so we'll be able to find a better baseline as this progresses.
And the intention with this server is that it can be built upon as we move facilities.
Good.
Anybody else? We have a motion and we have a second.
I got a
Oh,
question.
Councilman Shripstead.
Wes, maybe you can help me out with this. In this quote, I don't see anything with backup.
That's because they've already supplied the backup.
Who did?
We have Barracuda backup here through Integra One.
We do already.
Yeah, you guys purchased that last year.
So it's cloud-based, or we just,
It's cloud-based and on-site.
okay, and they're gonna integrate that into the new server? Okay.
If I remember correctly, and we actually met with them probably almost 3 months ago, something like that, is that there's really 3 layers to it.
Okay.
And again, I don't want to mix the two, but this one was also always connected and always monitored. So before we would even get to that second level, we should be having it caught by their monitoring.
Okay.
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. And then part 2 of that,
Is to contract Fulton Leasing Company, which is Lafayette Ambassador Bank, to lease the IT equipment at a rate of 3.93 for 60 months.
there's
Place
a
that in
motion
the
by,
motion.
there's a motion by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne. Any questions on the leasing? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
All right, and then we have one additional item. I don't know if this was on everyone's desk. Is this the, okay. I mean, I know we talked about it at Budget Finance 6:45.
Oh, yeah.
So. And that is, Mr. Pepe had gone out to bid the natural gas rate, and we ended up with a substantial savings. Previously, we were paying 6.424 per unit of gas. The new bid rate was 4.09, so the term is it a 3-year term?
36 months.
Yeah, 36-month term, with estimated savings of about $14,284. So I'll place that in the form of a motion to contract with Snyder,
Incorporated, I think.
is it Snyder Incorporated? Or Snyder Brothers Incorporated? Is that the name is?
It's cut off on the emblem there.
Yeah, Snyder Brothers Incorporated.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne, any questions?
Could it be subject to my review? I just got
I'm
it
sorry,
in.
yes, it was supposed to be, yes, subject to.
And you
solicitor
amend
review.
your
I'll have it by
second?
tomorrow.
Second.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
amended. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
Progress.
Thank you, Chairman Barrett. Community Relations Planning and Development Committee, Chairwoman McManaman.
Thank you. We do have a few items for action this evening. 3, resolution number 2018-27, the 2018 facade grant application. This is part of the Keystone Communities Program funding, which Shane has been working with the facade committee to submit another grant application, which is due at the end of August. Shane, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, most of the council's been through the process before. Just that we have a number of businesses interested again. We're going to take a little bit of a different approach with this application. Apparently, you're not allowed to say that you did well with what you've received in the past. I think Glover so will. But we do have, we encourage businesses that are interested in the grant program to get their applications in. So we've had, I know Mr. Barrett, his business
Yeah,
has
absolutely.
benefited from it. Mr. Hallman, actually, I saw him in the room earlier, it looks like he left, but he's been the chairman of that committee, and actually he's been on that committee since its inception. They've been doing this grant program since the mid-90s. And they've put over $1.2 million into this town between grants and what the downtown people have invested. So it's really been a successful and very useful program for our business community. So hopefully we'll write it the way that they want it this time.
And the results are very visible. I mean, if you looked through the list and you timed it out, you would see the many businesses that have utilized it, made improvements, whether that's improved signage, painting their facility. Spouting, yeah, maybe there's new doors or windows, yeah, stuff that any business owner would much rather invest in something directly to their customer, something that they can instantly say, oh, here's the new advertisement that I put out. But the town benefits by having the community looking better through that, and the business indirectly benefits from that as well. But it's really, it keeps your downtown looking nice, and that's something that all of us know many residents comment on from internally, but also we hear a lot of people outside of the municipality say that same thing, is that Emmaus is just such a charming town, and they're really commenting about the businesses and the way it's been kept up over the years.
Councilwoman McManaman, do you place that in the form of a motion?
Yes, please. Yes.
There's a motion by Councilwoman McManaman. Is there a second? Councilman Anders? Any questions? I think it was pretty much explained. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Abstention? No. 7 ayes.
The next one is resolution number 2018-28, the Junior Councilperson Program. As you all know, we've had this program in place in the past, and it has shown great results and success in the state. So this resolution would be the first step in the process of us reestablishing that program. we have started conversations with the high school principal about this.
Do you want to read the resolution, the black print?
Motion to adopt Resolution 2018-28, authorizing participation in the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs Junior Council Person Program.
Thank you. There's a motion by Councilwoman McManaman. Is there a second? Councilman Anders, any questions?
Not
Councilman
really a
Anders.
question, but I think this is a great program to get the youth in the community involved, the older youth who will be going to school and could be our future leaders. So thank you, Councilwoman McMahon, for working to do this program once again.
Certainly.
Our first year and a half, this program was a success. I really think that it was worthwhile. I think that the young man that we had was very involved. It's a mutual thing. Mrs. McManaman has really kind of stepped up to the plate with this one and has engaged the school district. I think that was the part that we were missing before, was, after our first person left, they just kind of threw names at us and threw people here, and they weren't engaged. The other half of that, though, is us, and making sure that they're not just a person at the table. And I think we tried to do that with the first young man that was here, but trying to give them some meaningful activity with local government is going to be important to be able to sustain this thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the school district, at their meeting, they typically have two representatives. I think one represents the student body and athletics, yeah. I think there's one from athletics and one represents the student body. And they always have a report. It's always interesting. I mean, some is the most basic of just reporting on some of the scores, but others they actually bring real concerns, and it turns into actual discussion. I think it will be a great addition to reinitiate this program.
Good, great.
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
The third item is appointment of Susan Kowalczyk to the Community Garden Commission. Term expires January 1st, 2022. We did interview Susan this evening. She's been working behind the scenes for several years with the community garden, so this appointment will purely be formalizing her involvement. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Susan Kowalczyk for the Emmaus Community
It's a
Garden
motion by Councilwoman McManaman. Is there a second? Councilwoman Baumgartner? Any questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
The last thing I'd like to say is that I'm very excited, jumping up and down about this communication from this evening that you all got a copy of. So as part of the CRD committee, I had submitted Emmaus Triangle Park as one of the 2018 Great Places in Pennsylvania under the category of great public spaces. So we were just notified that we won that designation by the Pennsylvania chapter of the American Planning Association. So I think that's another feather in our cap, as Wes said earlier. It's just another thing that we went out for and we received as a wonderful borough. So just wanted to point that out to everyone.
And we put that in for our 2009 celebration, so.
Well, and
It's
thank you for
only
your
there
efforts.
10 years, 11 at the most. So,
But thank you for your efforts with that.
Sure. It was fun finding out a lot about the park, the Triangle Park history, which even as a resident of 30 years, I didn't know all of the hubbub that was around the Triangle Park in the beginnings. So, and that will be part of the press release. They took everything that we submitted.
nice, and thank you.
So, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. It's like that. And our next meeting is on Thursday, July 19th at 4:30. I will report progress.
Thank you, Chairwoman McManaman. You have several boards, commissions, and also your quarterly reports from ambulance, fire, and police to keep you updated. We have personal appeals part 2 if anybody has an appeal.
Good evening. Lynn Donches, 559 Minor Street. Some of the discussion, one thing prompted a question, is the going through with the reservoir project then going to delay the installation of the water meters? Will that slow that?
Actually, they just finished them.
The water meter project was already finished. That was what was left over.
So there was a fair amount of money left over from that?
Yes.
Got it. As you know, the state approved the sales of fireworks. And I don't know about anybody else's neighborhood in Emmaus, but our neighborhood over on the south of 6th Street is, it's not all day, but there are a lot of fireworks being set off. And I wondered if the ordinance, is there like a 10 o'clock ordinance or something like that, a noise ordinance or something that should also be
Lynn, there's already
applicable?
a state ordinance that you cannot set off fireworks within 150 feet of a building. So right off the bat, they're breaking the law right there, so all you need to do is call the police. They can't shoot them off if they're using alcohol or any other substances. They can't shoot them from a home. They can't shoot them from a car, which is common sense, but I'm sure people do it.
We made an arrest actually on somebody shooting them out of a car.
Yeah, it's just, it happens. Or maybe throwing a firecracker out of a window, so that's illegal also. I know the Public Safety Committee is looking at it, and they might add maybe a time limit. Well, although we do have it, what's the ordinance called? With the being too loud?
We have a noise.
We have a noise ordinance already, so that would probably break that ordinance. I think it's 11 o'clock for the borough. So if they're shooting after 11 o'clock, they're breaking another ordinance there. And I think one of the things they're looking at is to make sure that they're not shot off in any of our parks. Or, so,
State law says that.
So we are looking at it in public safety. There are, like they said, there are only certain things we can do because it's state law, but we're gonna try to do what we can as a borough, like some of the other municipalities you've probably read about. We are exploring it and seeing what we can do because you're not the only one, obviously. We live here in this town too. It's the same in my neighborhood. It's calmed down a little bit in the last few days, but that doesn't mean it will always stay that way. So we are looking at that.
go ahead, Wes.
So, but the biggest suggestion from the chief of police was when it happens, call and they'll respond.
Is that a 911 call or just a general number?
Well, and that's a great question, because some people would think that's a 911 call. We received one complaint that we did receive from a resident was they called 911 while it was going on, and dispatch told them it's not an emergency. Call the non-emergency number, which is literally you call again the non-emergency number, and it's just the other side of the room at the dispatch center. But it's a different group of people answering that call. So they're telling us it's not a 911 call, it's a non-emergency call. It still goes to the same place.
Okay. And I knew the meeting was coming tonight, so I wanted to say at 6 o'clock this evening, there was something much bigger than an M80 or whatever the legal thing is that was set off in our neighborhood that brought everybody out of the buildings. That made me swear, which I never do, that the dog across the alley defecated, and somebody who was getting ready to go to a medical test just about had a heart attack. So I brought what I could find of it. We know where it was set off. We just don't know who did it, but it just made me want to come, and obviously it's been brought to your attention, but it's really serious in our neighborhood.
Well, and to the point of the photo that your husband had sent me, this thing was thrown within 4 feet of a gas meter.
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
Not too smart.
it's pretty scary, actually.
I've looked in detail at this issue. The municipalities that are passing ordinances are really mimicking, and that's all they can do, the state law. The state has preempted the field for consumer fireworks. You have a right to regulate display fireworks, but not consumer fireworks. I don't know how you can pass any ordinance that is in contravention to a state statute that says you can do it. But the 150 foot, it's hard to enforce. The size of and the definition of a consumer firework, I've got that and sent it to some communities. It's like 30 pages long. I don't know how the police will ever work effectively with it. I did send Chief Palmer, though, a memo that, or an email that outlined some of this well before the 4th of July. So we'll do what we can, but it's more of an enforcement problem on that. If we want to try to enforce it by ordinance, we can do that, but you already have the state statute. You can't make it any harder than the state statute.
And I'm sure you have other things to do, and I know we've taken up
I'm sure
some
the
of your-
police do too, so.
Well, no. If you need more time, we'll give you more time. But it was exclusively stated, do call the police when there's one of these issues. Because some of them, it sounds like yours might have been thrown out of a window or something like that as someone was going. You don't know who it came from, correct? But many times the fireworks are very obvious. It's coming from such and such residence. You can see them coming up. They might be doing it for 10 minutes. In those cases, it's a lot easier for the police to show up and say, you know what, we had these complaints. But did you call the police on the incident that you?
I didn't this evening just because I knew, this was here.
So
And the
they can do
neighbors have
nothing.
already called in the past.
Okay, eventually they start to figure out, all right, yeah, these incidents happen in this same exact area. It's probably one of your neighbors. So call. That was the exclusive statement of just call. We can't do anything if you don't call.
Right.
So.
Got it.
And enforcement is, I've talked to a lot of borough managers around the valley in the last couple of weeks about fireworks and how bad it is in every town this year. And that's because now we have free reign to go buy bigger, badder, and better. It's not that they weren't setting them off before. It's now that now you can get your hands on a quarter stick of dynamite.
No, you can't.
Well, that's what she picked up.
Yeah, but they're not legal.
That's not a consumer
I
firework.
understand
It's not
that, but
legal.
I'm telling you, if you actually go and buy them, you can get them at most of those tents.
Crazy.
Thank you.
I can assure you because I can assure you.
I appreciate you.
John Donchis, Emmaus here. Just tying on to my wife's recommendations too. I don't know if there's any way, if the towns are all talking about this, if you could get together, all do resolutions, for whatever it'll do, send it into Harrisburg and say, you guys made a pretty big mistake on this one. Maybe you want to change it or something, back it off again. From what we understand, this was the mortar launcher. It's big. I was around my garage when it went off. I could actually feel like a little concussion, to it, and that's around that concrete building. Like you said, 4 feet away from the, meter and everything, which was just, kids are stupid, like kind of thing. I did send a picture to Shane, just said, hey, this just took place, Figure we'll go to the police, report it. Boof, boom, it's gone, the kids are gone. Unless you have a camera to show anything, I think you're right, though, Wes, as far as, it's probably kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Because
just
this has
call
been not
when it happens.
unusual, going on. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, boom, boom, and pretty good stuff. I wouldn't doubt quarter sticks are easy to get a hold of somehow. Next thing I wanted to say is with the, what's the one that's going in down here, the store concession stand on Cedar Crest right off the bat, around the corner behind McDonald's Wawa. No left turns, wherever.
We haven't had anything come to our desk yet, so.
Okay, but
That's a sketch.
We don't have.
just something for information then. No left turn out on the Cedar Crest, that's right by the lights. If there's anything's gonna go out to 10th Street, no left turns there because, once that overpass or the bridge is put back in and you're 10 feet away from the light again, it's gonna be chaotic stuff going on there. So just, to watch that stuff. If there's any way to get it like that, it'd be really good. And as far as the grant programs and stuff, I say this all the time to it, the county commissioners, just a different way to think of things. It's all wonderful, it's good. Look at all these wonderful things that happen. But that money's either gotten by taking it out of their pockets. And then in this case, 4 people say, yeah, you can get it. 5, in the county, so on and so forth. And, or you do like the furniture factory where you guys are able to get a good deal in rates for these people. You tack on a little bit, and you keep getting that. And then you hand that out, however you want to hand it out. And again, if I wanted to do something, I have to go to a bank. Let the people, private industry, go to their banks and work it out. Whenever government does stuff, this is where I come from, that's fascism. You're buying and you're letting certain people get a hold of this, not everybody. So I prefer, don't even get involved with the government. That's wham money in my eyes. You guys, look what I did for you. I got your facade grant here. Don't forget to vote for me. It's pay to play in reverse, so to speak. I just said this to the county commissioners too. You get, in their case, $5,000. You get 100 people, that's $500,000.